Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Jonas Training Program. And today we are going to learn something about looping. What looping is. So we are going to know about the for loop, the while loop, and how to generate a random number to help us in our analysis. This kind of loopings are really going to help us to solve one or two problems in our daily lives. So without wasting much time, we just go straight to the point. So we just want to generate any random numbers or any numbers so that we can work with to make it easy for us to do our looping. So I'll start with sequence. Sequence is used to generate a random number. Sequence is used to generate a number. So we'll start with let's first look at the syntax for the sequence. So this is the syntax for the sequence. So for the sequence, the first argument that's supposed to come is the beginning of the number that you want. That's the from. So in this case, our beginning will be starting from what? 5. And 2. That's the second argument to come. That's our what? 20. So it's supposed to start from 5 and end at what? 20. It shouldn't be more than 20. And by means the difference between the numbers, the interval between the numbers should be what? 2 in our case. So let's quickly run it and see how it will be. So as you can see, to start from 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 19. The next number is supposed to be 21, but here you say it should end at 20. So there's no way it will just go above what we told it to end at. So that's basically what sequence is. So now we just quickly go to our first example. Our first example, we want to use the for loop. Now generate to understand the for loop so that it will help us in our analysis. So with the example 1, we'll just store this as my sequence. That's the variable name, my sequence. So our sequence now, the 0, we are starting from 0 and we are ending at what? 100, as I explained earlier on. So our 0 is the from and the 100 is the 2 and move by what? 10. So in this case it will be 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 and what? 100. So I'll quickly run it and now let's see how it is. My sequence, click on it. Voila, you can see 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 and what? 100. So now let's go to, in order to get the values in your sequence, if you use sequence, you are going to use items. Items you use to call the values in your sequence. So this one is for items in the sequence. You should print all the items. These are basically, it's a basic thing that we are doing. So this is how to do it. So you can see that I just bring out all the values 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 up to what? 100. So by this time it has what? Make it what? Vertical for us. So now let's go straight to the row 4. So we quickly explain this. After that, I have 2 or 3 examples, real life problem we are going to solve using this rule. So let's quickly brush through. So this one, they say for items, that's the values in my sequence. For all the items, the values in my sequence. If the item is less than or equals to 50, you should just move to the next. So that means they are taking numbers that are what? Greater than what? 50. So it will be 60, 70, 80 and above. So we just run it. If you want a number, maybe you are doing analysis, you want a number that is above a particular number to work with. That's where we use the for loop. I tell you to print, so voila, you can see it will print what? 60, 70, 80, 90 and 100, as I said earlier on. So let's quickly go to our example 3, and with our example 3 too, we are still using my sequence. That's the sequence we generated. That's from the 0 to 100 with the interval of what? 10. So with the example 3, they say items in my sequence. This time, this one we use the next for the upper values and we use the break for the lower values. So this one, it will break at what? 50. We are calling all the values in my sequence. By this time, we want it to break at what? 50. So we use the break for it. So as you can see here, it starts from 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, and what? 50. Yeah, because of we didn't bring the equal sign, that's why it involved the word 50 as well. But if you have to bring the equal sign, let's bring the equal sign. Let's see, to exclude. And you can see it has excluded what? The 50. So it will end at what? 40. So that's for the for loop. So let's go to the while loop. With the while loop, let's say something is while. That means it will alternate itself till the statement will become false. It will end when the statement becomes false. So with the while loop, we just denote our 5 by x, and y2 is what? 0. So we are just giving them any numbers. So we say let x be 5 and y be what? 0. So with the while loop, it's that y is less than what? X. So if your y is less than x, you should print what? Joseph. This one I've used my name. You should print Joseph. And this is the logical operation behind it. This is the logical operation behind it. Sorry. This is the logical operation behind it. So here we say that if y is equal to, the new y will be equal to y plus 1. The new y will be what? Y plus 1. So here is 0. Let me just explain quickly before we run it. So here is 0. So we know that 0 is less than x, which is true. So it will print what? Joseph, and it will come here to be 0 plus 1. So now our new y will be what? 1. And to go back again. So it will be 1 is less than what? 5, which is true. So to print another Joseph, so to print 2 Joseph, and so come here. Now the y is what? 1. So it will be 1 plus 1, which will give us 2. And to go back again, so 2 is less than 5 again. So to print another Joseph, and to come here, so it will be 2 plus what? 1, which will become what? 3. And to go back again, so 3 is less than what? 5. Is true. So to print Joseph, so this time it has print for Joseph. So here will be what? 3 plus 1, which is 4. And to go back again, so 4 is less than what? 5, which is true. To print another Joseph, so to print how many Joseph? 5. And to come here again, so 4 plus 1 is what? 5. And to come here again, so it will be 5 less than what? 5, which is what? False. 5 is not less than 5, it's equal. So which is false, so it will end. It will not print anything again, it will end. This one we use it in machine learning or those kind of styles. If you are trying to do 1 or 2 programming, if you want to program certain things, you use the while loop. While loop is a powerful logical thing, so you take note of that. So let's run it and see. So voila, you can say it has print 5 Joseph, as I explained earlier on. So it will alternate till the statement will become what? False. That's how while loop works. So here, let's go to if else function. We are still under the looping if else function. So with the if else, we just want to generate any random number, that's for a negative number and a positive number. And now we'll change all the negative numbers towards 0, leaving the positive numbers the same, but we change all the negative numbers towards 0. So this time we'll be using the if else. Remember in our previous video we used the else if. I explained the else if. Now we are using the if else analysis. So this is the syntax for what? If else. That's the first argument to be the test condition, and the second argument will be the value if the value is what? True, and the last one will be if the value is what? False. So if you want to generate any number, the run if will also help us to generate. The first one we use the sequence. Now we are going to use the run if, and this is the syntax for the run if. The first argument is n. N is the number of values you want to generate, whether you want to generate 20, 10, and the second argument is the minimum number. That's the lowest number you want, and the maximum here is the maximum number that you want as well. So in order to initialize a random number, just generate anything random. I see the sequence, it was giving us according to that from the lowest to the highest. You get me? But now I want to generate any number at random, whether it will start from lowest, go to highest, go to lowest, go to highest, just be mixing them. We use set.seed to just generate. Here you can put any values, but here because our this one is very small, that's why I put 12 over there. Our space, because we want to start from -1 and end at 1, so it's very small. That's why I use 12. You can use any number at all that you want. So set.seed, that one initialize how you can it will just initialize the random number for you so that you know find one thing. So I'll just click on .seed, and now I'll run my code. So I store this variable as my underscore vectors. It's just a random vector that I want to generate. So here is run if. That's why I said this time we're going to use a run if to generate any number. As the previous one we used the sequence, this one we're going to use the run if. And our first argument was n, that's the number that you want to generate. And the -1 is the minimum, and then even you can see it here. Arrow's already given it to us. You can see it on top. So now let's run it. Sorry. Let's run it. Okay. So let's open it and you see the outcome. So you can see that it has generated 25 numbers randomly, both negative and what positive. That just generate it randomly for us. You can see it. Yeah, maybe yours might be different from mine over here. Yours might be different from mine. It's just a random number. It's not necessarily it should be the same. So yours might be different if you are trying to do it on your own. So it might be different. It's just a random. When you say something is random, it's not supposed to be the same. Just be picking here and there and those kind of stuff. You know, random numbers. If you in analysis, if you go out to gather data, they say you should do it randomly so that you prevent what bias. So that's basically what we are trying to do. We don't want our analysis to be biased as well. So this one with this analysis, yes, they said that for index, the previous one we were using what item, but in run if we use what index. So take notes, the sequence we use item, and here we are using what index. So you take note. So for index in 1 to the length of what my vector, the vector is the vector name of the run if this number that I generated. So even if you want to find the length, you already know that the length is what 25. That's this one. The length is already 25. Let me show you. And see the length is 25. So the index in, that's the number from 1 to what 25, all the numbers. So we are storing that number as what number, my vector as what index. So the numbers in my vectors, that's how I've stored my data. That's the numbers, the random numbers. So I'm storing it as this. So now this is the argument. If the number is less than 0, that's this number, random number I've generated. If the number is what less than 0, initially I told you that we are going to change all the negative numbers towards 0, because we can't work with the negative numbers. Maybe if you are doing an analysis on certain things, sometimes there will be an error, you'll be involving negative, and don't try to change the negative to positive. It's really going to affect your analysis, but rather it is advisable you change it to 0, and don't try to remove that kind of, because it will reduce your sample size, but rather change it to 0 so that you can work with it. You really get me? Yeah. So they said if the number is less than 0, my vector, that index, that's the numbers in my vector, is what denoted by what 0. So that is basically this argument. That's what it's talking about. So let's run it and see, and now let's print our answer. So you can see that all this one was negative 0.21. You can see that it's not 0. All the negative numbers, it has taken it to what 0. all those negative numbers start taking it to what? 0. So we have a different way of doing it, the easiest way. That's basically the hardest way if you guys don't get it. So this one is just the easiest way to get it. So the easiest way, you use if else. That's where the if else comes into help. So the if else, I told you that our first argument is what? Our first argument is a condition, and our second argument is if it is true, we should give you what? That argument. And our third, so this 0 is our second argument, and now my vector is what? The third what? Argument. So we use the if else. So this one is telling you that my vector, if my vector, any the value index in the, what do you call it, my vector, if it is less than 0, you should put what? 0. But if it is not less than 0, it should just give you my what? My vector. So let's run it and see. I'll print it. You can see that it has given us the same thing. Or if this code is very complex for you, you can use this short code. So now I'm giving you 3 code like that. So this one is if else my vector less than what? 0. So this one is just the straight form of this. I told you that this one is just for basic ones people in China. Yeah, they are trying to make it look complex, but it's just easy. It's just you using enter, as I said earlier on. Yeah. So this is it. So this one is our condition. I gave you the syntax for if else. So this is our condition, and this is what? If it is true, you use this, and if it is what? False, you what? You use this. So let's see. So they say my vector less than 0. If it is less than 0, it should give you what? 0. But if it's not less than 0, it should repeat the same number. So now let's print it. Let's see. You can see that it has also given us the same thing as well. So basically, this is what we are going to do today. And I have an example over here for us to do. My word document. Okay, so this the try work. I'm going to do question number 1, question number 2. Then you guys will do the remaining one in the comment section. So here they are saying that start with is a word problem. So start with x. They say we should donate x by what? 5. Use a while loop. They say you should print the value of x, subtract 1 from x each time. Stop when x reaches what? 0. They say you should stop when x reaches what? 0. So now this is our condition. We should subtract 1 from x each time. So look at the question very well, because we are just doing. So the first one said we should denote x by 5 as we did earlier on, and we should print it. So we denote it and print. Now they say that we should what? Subtract 1 from x till x become what? 0. So that's use the what? While loop to do it. So with the while loop, you say while x is greater than 0, because definitely x is 5, so x is greater than 0. So you should print what? X. If x is greater than 0, then it should come and what? Subtract what? 1 from what? X, the value of x each time. So this time our first one will be 5 is greater than 0, which is true. So it will print what? 5. And to come here, 5 minus 1 will give us 4. So 4 will go back here. So 4 is greater than 0, which is true. So it will print what? 4. It will come here, 4 minus 1. The same thing until x will become what? 0. So 0 is no greater than 0. So it will make the argument what? False. And it will end over there. So let's run it and see. So you can see it will print 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, and what? 1. So that's for the first. Now let's go to the second. Let's go to the second one. So you can pause the video and you get it. And we will share this document in the comment section so that you can get it and work with it. So let me go to the second one. So the second one is saying about even number builder. So we just want to build an even number, and you said that the tax is you should start with a num. This one is a variable name. You can just change the variable name to any one that you want. So start with num is what we are denoting num by what 2. So you say we should use the while loop to print number. So they say the first one is a print num if it is what even. Add 2 to the num each time. So it's basically the same thing as this, but this time we are not subtracting 1 from this one. We will just be adding plus what 2. So stop when the num exceeds what 10. To stop when the num exceeds what 10. So we denote our num by what 2, and we use a while loop. So num is what less than or equals to what 10. So we should print num, the num is what plus 2. So basically this is what you do. Just run it. So you can see it will give us 2, 4, 6, 8 and what 10 as it was said earlier on. Let me use 1 minute to quickly just brush through the third example. So the third example, they said odd and even ones label that. So they said we should create a vector integer from 1 towards 10. So use if else to label numbers as odd or what even, and we should print. So they say we should generate a number from integer from 1 to 10, then we should use the if else. So this one we are using the if else. Now I've already told you the syntax. I've also repeated it over here. So your test condition, the value if it is true, the value if it is false. So in order to generate a vector, so this is a vector, we are generating a number from 1 towards 10. So we use 1 semicolon, is it column, yeah, 10. We just run it. So we want to see, you can see that it's from 1 towards 10. So they said if else, our condition is this one, we use modulo, and in our previous video we taught you how to do our modulos. This is the symbol for modulo. We use 2 words percentage sign for the modulo. So this one, our vector, that's any number here, the vector, the number, then modulo 2 supposed to be equal to, if it is equals to 1, the second argument is if it is true. You know, in modulos, let me do an example here. If they say 5 modulo 2, the answer is supposed to be 1, because you remember when we were in SHS, they'll give us 5 modulo 2, that's 5 will go into 2, how many times 2? Remainder what? 1. So basically we are talking about the remainder here. So if you run this, you can see that it will give you 1. We are talking about the remainder here. And with odd numbers, 2 will go into an odd number and will give you a remainder what? 1. If you remember your odd numbers, 2 will go into odd numbers and give you a remainder of what? 1. But it will give you a remainder. If it gives you a remainder of 0, it will be what? Even. If it gives you a remainder of 0, it will be what? Even. So basically that's what it is over here. So I said the vector, that's the number that we have, that's the 1 up to 10. If you find a modulo 2 of it and it gives you a remainder of what? 1, you should print what? Odd. Otherwise you should print a what? Even. You get me? So we run this one quickly, then we print our result. You can see that it has given us a 9 this one. So 1 is what? Odd number, 2 is what? Even, 3 is what? Odd, 4 is what? Even, 5 is odd, 6 is what? Even, 7 is what? Odd, 8 is what? Even as well. So basically that's what we did. So with our fourth question, you can solve it and send your answer in the comment section. So let me open it. So it's talking about temperature checker. You can pause the video and see how you can generate this and give us the code in the comment section. We'll be glad to see it. Thank you. And this is the end of our section for today. So today we learned about looping, using the for loop and the while loop, and how to generate a number using the sequence and using a run if. as well. So and we use also if else condition. So thank you for your time and hope to see you, God willing, next time. Have a good day.